What's up, everybody? Do not fast forward. Do not fast forward. Special announcement. So, last night was James Corden. That means today, my special, we fully released it for free on YouTube. I need everyone to go on there, comment, review it, just say, this is awesome, this is great, 5 stars, and share it with as many people as possible. The special is now available for free. If you bought it for the $6 that we charged, and now you're like, what, it's free now? You've had it before anyone else can have it. Now we're doing it for free on YouTube. So 1, I appreciate everyone that bought it. And 2, even if you bought it, go watch it again. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. Share it with friends. Put it on Facebook. It's free. You're not asking anyone to spend any money. Post it to your Facebook. Put a tweet out there. Email it to your friends. Drag your grandmother over to watch it. Either way, I'd really appreciate it. It will help. As my thank you, I have a double episode that starts today. If you're a Crab Feast fan, you're going to know who this is. Here's the deal. Jay Larson Comedy on Instagram, Jay Larson Comedy on Facebook, Twitter, Comedian Jay Larson on Facebook. Hartford, you know I'm coming out there 6th, 7th, and 8th of November. Boston, I'm there the 14th, 15th, 16th of November. I love you guys. Come out to shows. Go watch that special. This episode is a 2-parter. Half today, and then the other half on Monday. So, the second half has got 2 doozies. It has 2 stories. It's about 45 minutes to an hour for 2 stories. My guest this week, Mark Kunzman, a.k.a. Kunzi, a.k.a. Marcus, a.k.a. the Sandman, baby. He's not the Sandman. He's got a great podcast called Trapper Keeper Confessions, where he goes through and reads poetry from his high school when he wrote 200 poems in high school, and he and his wife dissect them. It's hilarious. If you've heard the stories about Kunzi on the Crab Feast, you are going to love this episode because he's here in the flesh, one of my favorite human beings on the planet. He's got a great podcast, Trapper Keeper Confessions. Go subscribe. Go get that. You get this, you'll get that. Watch the special, review it on YouTube, Jay Larson Comedy, YouTube, the special, and know that Monday, the second half with 2 amazing stories will come out of this podcast. So it's a 2-parter as my thank you to you. I love my boy, Mark Kunzman, Kunzi, the K-Man. Please enjoy this week's ep and watch the second half on Monday. Or listen. If you listen, please enjoy. Oh, I can't even tell you how good it is to have you here, the K-Man.
It's good to be here, Jay Larson.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Through Line, and I imagine we have a lot of Crab Feast fans tuning in because it's the one, the only, Mr. Mark Kunzman, the K-Man, a.k.a. Marcus, a.k.a. the Kid, a.k.a. Are there any I'm missing?
Kunzi?
Yeah, Kunzi, for sure. That's how everyone in the Crab Feast knows you as Kunzi.
Yes, there have been some stories told. Friend of the pod, I guess I was, but then I was kicked off the pod.
No, you kicked yourself off the pod.
Listen,
we can get into that for sure. For those of you who don't know the K-Man,
I'm just
Marcus
happy to be
and
here.
First of all, can I just tell? We're going to share a lot of stories today because it's I always have comedians on the show and that I'm friends with, but never someone who, first of all. Former comedian. How many times did you do comedy? This is the greatest thing about this human being. He's a civilian, okay? But he was an actor. He was on some TV shows, did some independent films. We'll get into some of them. And then, because he has so many varied interests, which you've been a real estate agent, you've been a masseuse.
Oh, that's a whole other world, yes.
Then you were selling pitching machines?
No. It was markerless motion capture, whatever it is.
Sure.
Just imagine Will Smith in... Yeah.
And now has a great career. I mean, so many different things. So left acting and then went off and then was living in Atlanta. And then I would just get an email. Hey, man, take a look at this. Let me know what you think. And it's him in a comedy competition. What were you thinking?
I don't know, but going through my tapes recently... old VHS tapes.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, what tapes? Like stand-up tapes?
And I found an L.A. show. A lot of people from the World Cafe where Jay and I met.
It was I guarantee I know where it was.
And you introduced me.
Yeah.
And I went up...
3rd Street Promenade, right?
I don't remember where it was.
Okay.
But what I do remember, before me destroying the tape, is how racist, homophobic and sexist my 5-minute set was. It was so horrible. I sent you a clip of you introducing me. My wife walked in. She goes, "What the hell is this?" She's like, "Play that again." And she's like, "You need to destroy this." I go, "You are so right." And I'm not one to destroy things from the past.
Yeah.
This one, I was like, this goes away.
Really? Well, don't forget. I mean, dude, you know what I've been binging on since Kate's been gone?
What?
Entourage. Have you watched an episode of Entourage?
I-
Homophobic, sexist, demeaning to women. Name it.
I will go on YouTube and watch on occasion like the best of Ari Gold. And he's horrible, but he's wonderful.
That's hilarious.
But that's a show. This was me doing stand-up.
I understand,
and it
but
was
that's what stand-up is. It's also a show. You're up there in an act to entertain people. So, and it was a different time where we didn't have so much light on those things to realize how insensitive it was because nobody was shining a light on it.
Yes, but when you broach the subject, because one of the things you left off my many jobs was a substitute teacher, and I did a
right.
bit of taking 2 young girls who were fighting outside and telling them to like, now shake hands. You don't want detention. Now take your
All right,
left
well,
hand and touch her hair. It was horrible.
Don't do the bit. Yeah, obviously. Yeah, of course. Well, you know, that's the thing about comedy, though. You get up there and you try things. And when you haven't done it, and that was your first time trying it, let's not dwell on that stuff.
Can I say one thing, though, Mary?
Only one thing, and then we're going to have to wrap it up.
I was there on the first night you did comedy at a stand-up above a brewery. I went with you, and I think I even performed.
You did perform.
Yeah.
Me, you, and Swanee.
No, it's just me and you.
It's just me and you. We all did 3 minutes, or we both did 3 minutes. I tanked, and then I did Dublin's the next night.
But I'm very proud of that. I was there. You came over. You're like, "Dude, I'm thinking of doing this." I'm like, "Awesome." You're like, "You want to come with me?" I'm like, "Absolutely."
That is one thing that I think never has left you, is that you are always down for whatever. Don't you think?
I appreciate that. I try to be,
Mm-hmm.
but I think there's a massive fear inside that I overcome, I compensate for by just, if the opportunity arises, to step up.
To just do whatever.
Yeah, I mean, because sometimes I think I could be very reserved and shy,
Yeah.
but I try and get myself out of that when the situation arises.
Well, let me just list a couple things. So if people are like, "Oh, does he seem like a reserved and shy guy?" Went to China with business school and ended up getting attacked at a bar where your nose was broken. Had to stay in the country, get paid off $10,000 while the guy was in jail. Drank yourself drunk at a bar mitzvah that we were both waiting tables at, where you passed out in the back alley. What are some other highlights that we said we were going to cover today?
I mean, those are two extremes.
Had a threesome with 2 girls in a house that you were house sitting for, where one ended up cutting herself on a broken window, and then there was blood all over the house, and you had to cover
I had to cover it up.
cover it up.
And then I got thrown out.
And then you got thrown out of the house
When I told the truth.
when you told the truth. What were some of the other highlights?
I did an independent film here.
Did an independent film that put you in character, and then you went around telling people you had to get to a hospital because your face was crushed.
That was so much. That was the best part of doing that crappy film. It was my favorite thing. It was so low budget, and I was just starting to date my wife at the time. And they spent more on catering than they did on sound and equipment. It was horrible.
Can I say something about your relationship with your wife?
Yeah.
I feel that there are people that have there's 2 types of couples out there. The couples that are straight up like, "Hey, this is who I am. You either like it or you don't." And then the other couples that are like, "Hey, this is the Instagram version of me, but you don't know these other things about me because I'm afraid to tell you about them because you might not like them," and they kind of keep that like secret world. You guys, I remember, and I'm gonna interrupt you a lot today probably. I remember you were like,
I'm just happy to be here.
I was doing a show and you were with your wife, then you were dating, and you were at the Cozy Inn, and you're like,
Love the Cozy Inn.
love the Cozy Inn. And this is when I used to do late night spots at the store, so I was like, I met you at the Cozy at 1 a.m.
I know what you're going to say.
And I rolled in, I just go, "What's up?" And I went right to the jukebox, and I put in money to play my songs, because they were like, "Last call." And I go over, and like we had like a half hour of songs left. And I go over and I go, where's Kristen? And you go, oh, she's right over there. And she's dancing with some guy.
Long hair.
And she's got his hat on. And I go, what's going on? He's like, she's having a dance. That's what we do. And I was like, with that guy? And you're like, yeah. You're old school. You were confident in that. That would never happen in my relationship.
Well, hold on. Just to clarify, it's not what we do. Like, we're not swingers. Just to
No, guys, it's what they do.
It's more, my wife knows that if I'm traveling and I sit at a bar, I will have a lengthy conversation with a woman. I love women.
Yeah.
I love the banter. It makes me feel good about myself. But she also knows that I won't step over that line.
Yeah. And you just love people in general.
I do. But here's the thing. I will tell her about those conversations.
Yes.
Where I think most people would not. Or
when I have to tell my wife about those conversations, I go, I met this lovely woman. She's been married 5 years. Reminded me a lot of you. She's got she and her husband, they have like this organic farm. He's a great guy. I follow him on Instagram now. It has to be like that kind of setup, at least in my world. You know what I mean?
Yes. Well,
in my head, I'm like, that's what
you got a great wife.
That's how I want her to set up too, because she tells me about dudes that she like sits next to on a plane, and you know what I mean. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's great.
It's important to just, if it was a good conversation, if it was interesting, if it was worthwhile speaking of. I remember when we came out to L.A. for a wedding in Ojai, we met up with you guys. I called my ex-girlfriend, who I speak to all the time. She's a lovely person. We dated for when I first moved out here.
Right, yep.
And she's like, do you want to meet for breakfast? I was like, absolutely. We thought it was just breakfast. We spent the whole day with her. Because they got along swimmingly because there's some common element between them. Besides me.
Not that is the common, that's the through line for them.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Not all relationships can go meet up with one of the person's exes. I always wanted to be the guy that would be friends with the ex, and my wife would be friends with my, but that's just not, that was never who I was at the end of the day. You know?
Do you remember the picture I sent you that you got upset with me about? When we lived in Venice, after we worked at our restaurant, we would often have gatherings, and they were often at my apartment. And we had a poker, it was like a strip poker type thing. You recall this? And
first of all, this wasn't yes, we did.
It didn't get to full strip poker, but it was just dancing and all this. And there was one of the waitresses there. There's a picture that I took, and I'm not a good photographer, and it's her just kind of dancing on top of you. And the smile on your face, I captured in that moment, pure just like laughter. Someone said something. It's wonderful. And I go, you know what? I took a couple of those pictures. I put it in like a 3-set frame, and I sent it to you. And in the back, I wrote like, just pure happiness. And you were like, dude, what the hell are you doing?
What am I going to do? Put that up in my house?
That's what I thought.
Babe, remember this? This is the girl I used to work with here. Yeah, well, see, that
was the intention, but I didn't think about, that's often the case. The intention's there, and then I'm like, well, what are the ramifications?
Yeah. Yeah, but that's the kind of thing. Like, put it this way. I don't know many wives that'd be like, yeah, totally put that up.
Mine would not. I do not have pictures of my ex-girlfriend there. I didn't think about it. But
I will say this. In life, when we meet people, there are very few people you can say, oh, yeah, I remember the exact moment I met you. You know, I remember the exact moment we met. Do you remember the exact moment we met?
I've heard this, and I lied to you.
Yes. I can see it clear as day. I'm at the bar, you know, where you pick up your drinks at World Cafe?
Yes.
And I'm training, and I'm telling this girl who's training me that I want to be a writer. And she goes, oh, you know, Mark's a screenwriter. And I go, who's Mark? And she goes, that's Mark. And you were picking up your plates over here at the... You know,
where they put them out.
So you're grabbing your plates. I go over. I'm like, "Hey, Mark." You're like, "Yeah," and you're like moving like super quick. So he doesn't know me, and you're a little standoffish when you don't know someone like that. Do you think?
Me?
Yeah.
I think people think I'm standoffish just because maybe I don't smile.
Yeah, you were very intense, and I go, and the door's shut, and it's like one of those things you got to like push the door out to open it, right? So he grabs his dishes, and I go, "Hey, so I heard you're a writer," and he goes, "Yeah, I'm a writer." And I go, really? Like, what do you write? And you're like, screenplays? And I go, really?
That's a lie.
I go, how many have you written? And he turns his body, puts his back at the door, and looks at me and goes, I don't know, 5? And then backs out.
I said 5.
5. Backs out and then goes out to the patio. And I remember being like, God, who is this Sean Penn, beautiful? You look like David. You know what I mean? Back then, at least. I mean,
Before my nose was broken.
in China. And I remember being like, wow, that guy's doing it. And then I come to find out he's
No.
never written one.
No.
Never in his life.
No, hold on. There are many scenes written down. I admire the writer.
Yeah.
First of all, what a fucking liar I was. I apologize.
First of all, one of the best liars I know.
Well, thank you. But if you ask me, like, dude, what would you love to do? Like,
Be a liar?
no, I would love to have a story from my brain. Sounds like an Adam Duritz line. Written as a screenplay. It's one of my goals.
By the way, Adam Duritz, if you don't know, lead singer of Counting Crows. Have you ever met him?
Yeah.
Tell us where.
At the Viper Room when I was out here one summer with my two buddies from childhood.
And what'd you ask him?
I asked him about Sullivan Street. He was like a guest bartender, and I walked. Yeah, and he was like, "It's about a girl." I forget what it was. I asked celebrities question. You want to talk about Adrian Brody?
Yes, we will, 100%. But this is, if you don't know, this is how Coonsy stands sometimes. He gets his legs bumping like this. You might not be able to see me. He gets his legs bumping. Usually, used to be back in the day, he'd have a cigarette. Take a cigarette.
So let me tell you something.
Adrian Brody. So, what I can picture you standing at the Viper Room bar being like, "Yeah, Sullivan Street, what's that all about?" And he's like, "I don't know. I was living. This is what you told. I don't know. I was living in San Francisco. There was this girl."
Yeah. Well,
what is it with you and celebrities?
I don't like to talk to celebrities. If I see celebrities, you see them in Atlanta.
Yeah.
No, I rarely approach them. On occasion, I had a question, and it was bothering me with Adrian Brody.
Mm-hmm. This was when The Piano had just won Best Picture.
No, he was about to get nominated.
Okay.
It was in the fall. He was about to. That's the great thing about it is soon after he was nominated and won for The Piano.
Yeah.
There's a place. It wasn't Fred's.
No, it was Swingers.
It was Swingers. Yes.
The one in
I'm
Hollywood.
sitting out there as I would often do, just sit there and kind of watch and see what happens. And he sat at the table next to me, and he did a movie back in the day called Ten Benny. Have you ever seen this movie?
No, the only thing I know about this movie is what you've told me from this story.
But
first you didn't lead with Ten Benny.
Yes, I did.
I thought you went up to him and you told him how great Piano was and how like excited
Here's
you
how
were,
I
and
recall
then-
I said.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
I wish I recalled every nuance and every line of it, but here's the essence of it. Normally, I do not approach celebrities. I respect people's privacy. I don't want to bother their lunch. I'm good like that. However, in this case, it was burning because it's an independent film, which I respect, in the 90s, but there's a plot point that just someone messed up. Someone was like, they revealed...
Wait, by the way, have you ever written a screenplay?
No.
Okay.
Someone screwed up.
Someone screwed up!
Someone messed up in the editing.
Whether it was the director, the editor, the writer.
Yeah, and I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Because it's so it's a voiceover of answering machine message that he's left to a girl as it shows him driving. And you're like, hold on a second. Why? There's no way, based on the plot, that he would ever leave that message for her. Because she's not supposed to know where he's going, and he tells her. And that's the whole build-up. So I very respectfully finished my lunch, and I said, excuse me. I'm sure I started it with flattery.
Yes.
And said, I just want to tell you, I think you're a great actor. I think it was Thin Red Line that I might have led with. And I said, but...
The thinking man's Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
I've still never seen it.
It's tough to get through. Some of those movies are... I like Terrence Malick, but that's... Anyway, as my friend once described Tree of Life, as we got out, he said, that was the greatest student film I've ever seen.
What's Tree of Life?
With Brad Pitt and...
Still haven't seen it.
Nonetheless.
Tell us about
so I said to him, after I, was full of flattery, I said, may I ask you a question about a movie you did? He's like, sure, what movie? I go, Ten Benny. He's like, absolutely. He stood up, and I go, I watched that movie with my friends. I remember the night we rented it. I go, what the hell happened with that movie? And I think I was a bit abrupt. And he's like, what do you mean? I go, there was...
abrasive.
A bit. I go, there was this plot point. And at the time, I remembered it very vividly. And he goes, dude, I don't know what to tell you. He goes, you ever made an independent movie? And I was like, no. He's like, we had $250,000. And that's all I have to say about that. And I was like, I didn't mean to offend you. He's like, I'm just going to go finish my lunch. And I was like, all right.
Poor guy's eating, and you're like, dude, what were you doing with Ten Benny?
I wanted an answer.
Do you remember another time you saw Adrian Brody? Because I do.
Was I just messing with you, or did we really see him? At Westminster.
Yes, we're sitting in Westminster. He used to have this little front porch that was covered, and there was like a little bench and a gate, and we'd be drinking beers and smoking cigarettes in the middle of the day.
Rent controlled.
You did in your 20s. And he's standing there shaking his legs, smoking a butt, and he looks across the street, and there's a bus stop over here, and there's a park, and this guy going by, and he goes, Adrian! And I'm like,
I think it was.
And then the guy waved back, and then he turned to me and goes, Adrian Brody.
He's a buddy of mine. Rick Springfield. He's a buddy of mine.
What's that?
Boogie Nights. The scene where they go, he goes, Rick Springfield. He's a good buddy of mine. It's great.
Who's that? What's
the
his
scene
face?
where they're doing coke, and he's like, we want the safe. I want to have the money. And they're like,
yeah.
and he shoots them. And
So yeah, we met. So when we met, that you were a little abrasive towards me with the whole thing, and then we didn't. Do you remember? I know, at least in my recollection, of when we started to like, where I was like, yeah, this is going to be my boy. Do you remember the night, or my example of the night?
No, but was this the night you were dancing with a 16-year-old at the wedding?
Slow it down. I never danced with that girl.
Oh, dude. All right, hold on. Let me back up.
Yeah.
I don't recall when I said I like this guy, like a light went off. You're a likable guy.
Thank you. Well, for me,
I think you have an attitude that I appreciate. You, although I disagree with some of your attitude, you have a distinct attitude, and I just connected with it.
yes. Well, I remember distinctly, we all went out drinking after work one night, and then we were like, hey, how can we keep this party going? And I was like, do you guys want to come over to my condemned house? And it was me, you, and Camille. Remember that girl Camille that used to work with us?
Yes, I do.
I mean, I'm going to take this moment right now.
She got me hooked to, what was it, that medical treatment when you're sick? You take the, anyway.
Grapefruit seed extract?
Yeah, that was,
yeah. So I want to take this moment right now to say that Marcus has a podcast. And tell us what the podcast. I just want to tell him now. We'll read poems later, but tell him what it is now, because that chick used to write poetry all the time.
She did. She wrote me many a poem. I have a podcast that is based on my high school poetry.
How many poems did you write in high school that you still have?
Hundreds. And it came about my amazing wife and her best friend have a podcast where they look at books from their childhood, because they could remember when they read, like, a Judy Blume book, how old they were. They were reading things that were inappropriate for them because they were very advanced. And now they look at it with a, almost philosophy PhD and a PhD in gender studies. And they're just smart and clever. And they look back, they reread those books as adults and go over them. They'll do Michael Crichton. They'll do Christopher Pike.
Sure.
One of the stories involved a girl whose private journal was stolen and revealed throughout the school. And it reminded my wife of something that happened to me in 8th grade.
Okay.
Where I wrote Michelle a poem in my very distinct handwriting, cursive, put it in her locker, said, the last line I recall is, I've written my feelings with pride and with shame. You probably don't care, so I won't sign my name. ? At lunch, where we sat, it was passed by, photocopied with my name on it. Then it was plastered all over the school. I was super embarrassed. As I told this, and then, they go, do you have that poem? I go, I think I do. I went through boxes that my parents had sent me over the years, and I was like, oh my God, not only is there this poem, there's hundreds of poems and journals and all this. And so they so enjoyed it, they said, and we've read it over the years when you're drunk and going through some poetry, let's read it. And it's so horrible. It's dated, so you could figure out where I was and what I was going through.
You dated every poem?
Most of them. I'd say 3/4 of them. I don't know why. Well, I think I know why. I thought they'd be like part of my, people would go back. And anyway, for whatever reason, I wanted to know. I thought my kids would look through them and ask questions. And they're horrible. Some are hopelessly romantic. Some are psychotic.
Sure.
So that's the thing. We read a poem each week and dissect it.
And then break it down.
It's called Trapper Keeper Confessions.
Great title. Trapper Keeper Confessions. It's probably on iTunes. It's probably on
Twitter,
Stitcher.
Instagram, where we put up the poem each week.
Okay. Under Trapper Keeper Confessions.
Yes.
We'll do a post on Instagram with it in there and all that jazz.
It's wonderfully horrible. I am the foil, and I have to defend my poem. And some of them, I mean, they all.
Well, we're
most
gonna
of them
read some
rhyme.
later, but
It's fun.
When I brought up Camille, I remember that because this was a chick that we would work with, and like while her section was dead, she would sit on the bench in that little like window seat in the bar and like be doing poetry. Remember? That's who this chick was. So we're gonna get back to Tropic Conventions, but I just want to give that plug now because some people tune out. So
Thank you.
the night that we bonded, in my eyes, was she was there, and we were like, "What should we do later?" And I never hung with Camille, and I never hung with you. And I was like, yo, I got this. I live in this condemned house. We can all go hang there. And they were like, all right. And you were like, I got some weed. And she was like, I have some wine. And then, so I went with her to her house to get some booze. You went to your house to get the weed. And then we're all going to meet at the condemned house. And this is when I knew, like, this chick was like what I was getting into with you and this chick. I remember we were like walking to her apartment, and I go, there was just some door leaning up against the wall. And I go, whose door is that? And she's like, oh, I found it in an alley. I thought it was beautiful, so I kept it. And I was like, oh, okay, that's who this chick is, you know? And, you know, we all went to my house, and we hung out all night. We never went to sleep. I remember you standing in the doorway, you smoking your butts, and we were all hanging out. And we went to Cafe
Love that
50s
house.
at 6 a.m.
Now I remember Cafe.
Yeah,
Yes.
so we never slept. We drank and smoked all night, went to Cafe 50s.
Is that still around?
Nope. And we went there, and do you remember what you did?
I played something in the jukebox.
Well, of course. We had music going on the jukebox. All 50s music. It's Cafe 50s.
I danced with someone.
Yeah, you sure did. An old woman. You were like, get over here, darling. And you took her off her stool at the bar, and you danced with her at 6 o'clock in the morning in this Cafe 50s. And that's when I was like, yeah, this is my boy.
There were many nights like that. I look back on my time in LA, which I moved here in 2000 and left around 2006.
Mm-hmm.
So fondly, and you're part of that whole wonderful. I mean, I met my wife during this time. I look back though.
I remember when you were in your first date with her, when you guys came in during a day at World Cafe.
Yeah, I remember taking you to a comedy show in La Brea with her, and we were like making out while you were setting up. It was you were opening for Tom Arnold.
Really?
Remember that?
No.
And the woman was like, "What? Who is that couple?" And you were like, "That's how they always are." And I was like, "That's so."
Dude rolling with friends to shows, and people are like, who are these guys?
Oh, dude, I could go into some bringer rooms where you brought us one, and I don't know why I ever sat in the front row, but I was there to support you, and some woman was cutting hair before you went on, and I was. If you're in the front row, you have to be supportive. I am a supportive guy.
This
all right.
This
and
story
this is
breaks us
very
down
you.
completely.
I love it. And so I'm sitting there. I never would sit in the front row at a comedy show. It's just not my style.
Do you remember how long in the comedy it was at this point?
Oh, a couple months.
I think I was probably in that like 4 or 5 month range.
Oh, totally. And so this woman cut someone's hair while she was doing. I think she invited someone from the audience.
Yep.
And then you came on afterwards. And then we saw you afterwards. I think you had a decent set. And you were like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? You're like, you'd be clapping. It was a horrible set. And you were like, and you just sitting there like, so that woman was horrible. What an awful way to walk in. And I was like, dude, what do you want? I'm here to support you.
I was so mad that she was taking stand up and cutting hair as like a way to like increase her comedic thing. I hated it. And then he was laughing at it and afterwards like, what the fuck we? Because then I didn't have a good set, and I blamed it all on you for laughing at that lady.
Dude, I went to a ton of your shows, man. That's why I love watching your comedy evolve. Although you claim it hasn't. It has, man. It's amazing to watch, and I'm like privileged that I saw it at the
Infinite Stage.
But what I talk about when I mean the time I was here, I remember my parents coming out and going like, we were watching the opening day of baseball season, and she came and there were a bunch of people in my house. She goes, "What are you guys doing? You're like 25. It's a weekday. What are you doing?" And I was like, "Mom." And in hindsight, she was right.
Yeah.
But also, my idea of like coming out to Los Angeles and making a career of it was so just misguided. Like what you look at going, what, you don't just come out here because you have a fun personality and
Well, yeah, you do.
Yes, but it takes work,
Of course.
dedication. It takes years
Yeah.
to become someone who makes a life out of it. And I was extremely naive,
Yeah, but dude,
extremely overconfident.
In 2000, you'd already written 5 screenplays.
I had so many. So many. But I wouldn't trade it for the world.
No. And I remember when my mom came out the first time to visit, I had been living here already for 6 years. And she's like, is this what you do all day? You just stop by a friend? Because, like, when your mom comes, then, like, we would drive. I would take her somewhere. We would go to brunch. Then we go to a friend. We went to your house. We had Sierra Nevadas.
I recall this.
And she's like, this is such an amazing life. You just have all these artistic friends you go and see and hang out. I'm like, it's not every day, but that was like, when you wait tables and you pursue acting or stand-up, that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then you look for random places to live, like a condemned house for me, and you house-sitting a house in the Hollywood Hills.
What an opportunity. Which I went with no TV, with the idea that I'm like, dude, you're finally going to buckle down. You've been fucking around here. You're now in the hills. You're isolated. No TV.
You made it
were going to sit and write.
Yeah.
Oh, man. The neighbor was the screenwriter who had, I think, Jodie Foster's mom lived on there. It was near the Greek Theater. The neighbor had like a little writing room off of it. And I was like, this is where I'm going to sit. But I got so antsy. And then, of course,
you're living in a house that's empty. Except you had a bedroom, and then you took like the den and you turned that into your living room.
Yes. Someone we know who had this lovely house, which was near the Greek Theater, near the 101. The property was this old 1920s Spanish-style house.
Yes.
Levels. Lovely, like old Spanish tile built in the 20s. You would love it, right? You loved it.
I loved that house.
The problem was the property went up and back so much you couldn't see it, and homeless people would come from the 101 where the cross is.
Well, because the back of the yard abutted land that was down to the highway.
Yes, and so people would come up, and I mean, you had a great view of the Greek Theater.
Yeah.
But homeless people apparently, what's that?
The Ford Theater.
Oh, I thought it was the Greek.
Street. If you took the trail that way, that was looking down on the Ford Theater.
Look at you knowing your geography, J. Lass.
Boom.
I'm never good at geography. Nonetheless, they were worried because he was traveling a lot working, and she was a new mom.
Right.
That they would find like beer cans and feces on the property.
Yeah.
And she was worried. Like there were trails and benches and...
It was tiered. If you go up, there were these trails, and then there was a koi pond up the top. Remember?
Yes, koi ponds at the bottom. Like a bench. There was a patio with steps that went up. But no, there was a outdoor porch or sitting area that was as high as the roof. That's how steep it was. Yeah. So
pool down here off that little living room.
It was French doors that went. So they asked me, look, we're doing construction. We moved out of there. We're looking to sell it, but we're fixing it up. There's problems with it. We don't feel comfortable having my wife there alone. Would you do us a favor? You're looking for a place. We'll charge you minimal rent. And
I know exactly
stay
how
there.
Much. Do you remember?
$600.
I thought it was $5, but $6. Okay.
Whatever it was. You could tell it was dial-up internet. You know, they charged me for the phone. They were great hosts.
Now you had this huge living room that had like a concave ceiling like that, or like a rounded ceiling.
Chef's kitchen.
First of all, chef's kitchen. When we say that, two sinks, a prep sink, and then your regular sink, and it was a granite sink. It was gorgeous.
It was gorgeous, and they had taken out a lot of their furniture, so it was minimal. Didn't have much furniture.
You put it all in that one room.
I put it all in the one room, which is off the kitchen, which was open the French doors to this lovely like pool where the koi fish were as well.
How often were you swimming in that pool?
Every day.
Every single day.
Loved it.
We had a huge dinner over there. We had a table. We all sat around the table. Remember there was that one girl who was a waitress at O'Brien's? So when we worked at this restaurant, there were all the other bars in Santa Monica that everyone was just friends with each other.
Yeah.
And this girl came over and would paint topless at the pool.
I wish I remembered that.
I thought that you had told me
that.
No,
I remember. No.
Oh, okay.
Did you see it?
No, I never saw it.
No, I remember pushing my buddy Josh in the pool. He was biking around the pool, and I was like, I can't resist. And his phone got thing. Nonetheless, it was a dangerous house because not only did I never feel comfortable because people would come over, the construction people, the owners, and they wouldn't come. Yeah, they wouldn't come unannounced. But I felt it always had to be clean, so I wouldn't leave without the place being immaculate, and that's difficult to live in.
Yeah,
you know, where you want to settle in. If I had the French doors open to the pool at night with this lovely breeze coming in and the lights in the pool, I had like a knife under the couch because I didn't know who was coming in from there. It's a bit paranoid.
Do you have any knife training at all?
No, I've been in some fights, unlike you.
That's true. That is 100% true. But I know
Secret dreams. Sometimes I just want to be like, dude, I'll end this thing right now and just punch you in the face and be like, now you know what it's like to be punched.
Well, it does. I don't need to know.
You just don't make me angry.
No, everyone's like, it's a rite of passage. Every dude needs to be punched. Shut up.
I agree. You're a lover, not a fighter, Jay.
Get out of here.
I agree. So nonetheless, I'm in this house. I'm going to the World Cafe. I'm going back and forth. And it was a dangerous house. There were walkways or,
steep
steps
walkways.
that friends would come over and they're like, dude, there's like no railings here. And I was like, yeah. And there were all these doors that were old French bubble glass
doors
that you would have to unlatch from the bottom and the top. If you pulled it, they were all over the house. Remember?
Yeah.
And they said to me, they're like, dude, don't worry if, you might remember to unlatch them. And then if you left the house and put on the alarm, you often had to go searching like which one is kind of open.
Yeah.
So I had people over all the time. It was awesome. It was lovely.
That house was awesome.
So I thought I had this idea of like no TV, but I had to watch my Sports Center.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to, what's that great? We had a raspberry salad. Birds. I went
You
to
go to Birds. I
go
know
to Birds.
exactly where it is. It's right next to UCB and
across from the Scientology Center.
Yeah.
It's and I would have
buddy Chris Johnson used to wait
my
tables
raspberry vinaigrette salad. It was delicious. Yeah. And I sat at the bar one night, and these two girls walked in. I mean, I knew they were there because I was actually at the other bar, and I saw them walk by, and I was like, oh, I'm going to go in and watch Sports Center. So I sat there. We started chatting. One had a pink boa. They were young, but so was I. And we started chatting.
That's a line. They were young, but so was I.
So we started doing shots.
Whose idea was the shots?
Oh, mine, I'm sure. I said, I'm like, would you guys like a drink? And they were like, yeah, and whatever they ordered. And I was
like, well, they have a great wine selection and great cocktails. They also have shots. Do you want to just do shots?
Yeah, kamikaze, what? Woo-woos. So, nonetheless, when the bar closed, 12:50, it was like last call, and I'm like, where to next, ladies? No, they go, where to next? And I go, do you want to go swimming in my house? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, let's go.
Okay, hold on. When you said my house, did you ever give the impression that it was your house?
I said my house.
Right. And what did you tell them that you did for work?
I told them I was a screenwriter.
You sure? You always have been.
I have been. Always will be.
They were like, really? How many have you written? You're like, I don't know, 5.
Storyteller, yes. So we go back to the house. Just again, amazing house in a cul-de-sac and just awesome. And the owners of the house had left a message earlier saying, hey, we might come on an answering machine. We may be coming by in the morning.
Gotcha.
Right? As they often did, but they never came unannounced. So we go into the pool.
The 3 of you.
The 3 of us.
But did they have bathing suits?
No.
Okay.
Topless with a wet boa on. It was awesome. And there was wine. I was drinking Coronas, and they said they're like, there's not much furniture here, and I'm like, yeah, kind of like the minimal kind of lifestyle.
I've never thought of this till right now. Because I was thinking this the other day. One time, this kid, Tim Anderson, when we were in middle school, said, do you want to come away for a weekend with me and my mom, and my other friend Chris is coming, and my mom's boyfriend to this house in Beverly? And I was like, sure.
Beverly, Mass.
Beverly, Mass. In this huge, huge mansion. And there was no furniture except in like 3 rooms in that house. And I always thought it was weird. I'm like, is this house for sale? Whose house is it? Blah, blah, blah. And I never realized it's an odd thing, and that was the situation you were in.
Well, what was it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
The 3 of us stayed up in one room way up where we just all slept on the floor in sleeping bags. And then there was like a living room that had a pool table and stuff, and that had some furniture. But other than that, like we never really, his mom and boyfriend stayed in some room, and we all just kind of hung out and like made like phone calls on like, those talk lines. That's all we did all night. And then we go out in a boat and stuff
talk
like that.
lines. I know talk lines.
Yeah.
I stayed in a house in Nantucket for a summer that had no furniture at all. Now, granted, our friend's dad had bought the house.
Yeah.
He was like staying there and charged us rent. Super good guy. And we didn't have furniture for like a month. Not even beds.
Right. But I'm saying, so these girls
came and they're like, oh, you live here? And I was like, yes, this is where I live. I remember saying that. Like, this is where they didn't ask like, oh, what was your down payment?
Yeah.
What's your mortgage rate?
Yeah.
So we started swimming. I remember watching it and going like, this is awesome.
Watching what? Them swimming?
Them in the pool because it was cold water. It was like fall. No, It was chilly,
Yeah.
as it is in the hills. And I remember going like, dude, you got to get in there. I had my 6 CD changer, my box stereo,
Yeah.
whatever, trying to create the vibe. And we're swimming, laughing, drinking, smooching.
The three of you were kissing.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is to be an epic night
Mhm.
that I just wandered into, very excited. You know?
Yes.
One of them gets up, and I go like the powder rooms right, or the bathrooms right over their little powder room, and she walked through the kitchen from my little hangout where my couch was, through the kitchen, and I was like, "Oh, where are you going?" And I found her in the main living room, dining room area, but there was nothing really, no furniture there, so you couldn't distinguish. And she's pulling at one of these glass doors
Is she still
with
topless?
panels. Oh yeah.
Okay.
She had on these little panties
Mm-hmm.
that had the 7 dwarfs.
Oh my god.
It was awesome.
I don't know if that's
It
awesome.
was awesome. So she was beautiful. She was young. She's pulling at the door, and I go, "Sweetheart, in order to open the doors, remember I'd had this problem with everyone.
Yeah.
Don't crack it." I go, "You got to undo the bottom." I go, "Where are you going?" She's like, "Oh, I'm just going to look outside." She was more than tipsy,
Uh-huh.
and I go, "Don't wander off too far because there's the koi pond.
Yeah.
This is the back of the house, and there's steps." So I go, "I'll be right back." Went right back. Her friend had gotten out of the pool, and she distracted me.
Mm-hmm.
And we're on that tan couch. Remember that tan couch?
Yes, I remember it.
And I know Guns N' Roses was playing. That's a little thing that was just memory there, just blazing in my brain. I think we were looking at probably Use Your Illusion 1.
Okay.
Anyway, that's Lies from
Yeah.
Gina. Great album.
So you're making out?
And I go, "Oh my God, where's your friend?" I'm making out with the blonde. I go, "Where's your friend?" And I don't even know their names. And I go wandering, and I look, and she's come down the steps, her forehead. She's standing right by the door. She's just covered in blood. Covered in blood. Like all down her. The white panties,
Yeah.
bloody. And I go, oh my God. And I
First of all, there's a number of things going through your head. One, the fact that this isn't your house and that you're overlooking the house and this has been an issue. 2, did she get stabbed by a crazy person?
that
up
wasn't a
there?
thought.
Okay. 3, where is my threesome going?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big issue.
There's a lot going on. Mostly I was like, I'm dead. Like,
Yeah.
this is not my house.
Yeah.
What happened? Oh my God. But in the reaction, you're like, "Oh, come in." And I grabbed her, and guided her to the tan couch. Then I remember pushing the button to turn off the stereo.
Uh-huh.
Then I grabbed her friend who was back in the pool, and I go, "Oh, come with me. Your friend got hurt." We went up the staircase. Now
There
there
was
were
this beautiful staircase that would go
Yes.
up and then had like a balcony that like looked down.
Now there were 2 bedrooms.
Only 2
One
up there?
was well, as I
There was
recall.
3, but I remember the one that had the 2 French doors on either side that went out to its own patio.
Yes, there was. Yes, the 2 bedrooms that I recall. One was the master bedroom,
Yes.
which had an attached bathroom, which I used because it was a great shower.
Yeah.
Now they still had their sheets on it.
You know how I understand that? Because I've house sat before, and I'd stay in one bedroom that had a bathroom, but I would use the other bathroom because it had a great shower.
Yeah. I slept in the study with these built-in bookshelves. It was beautiful. With my bed, which had like just some crappy frame on rollers.
Yeah.
What I didn't like about the bathroom up there that I was to use was that it had an old claw tub and a handle that you had to pick up if
Oh,
you
yeah.
wanted to shower. And I was like, no. Right?
Yeah.
So
What am I working here?
on occasion, I'd sleep in that bed. But most of the time, I was just in my bed. Again, I was scared that, I was not living there really. I
Yeah.
just never felt like at home. So I brought her into their shower, master bedroom shower. And I'm like, "Get your friend, like, wash her off."
And this is in the clawfoot tub.
No, this is in the master bedroom
Okay.
shower. And I go, I just take care of your friend. She's like, "Okay." And she's freaking out too. Her friend was very calm. Like the girl got cut. She was
Yeah, but she knew
drunk.
what was going on.
Yes, she didn't know what was going on. So she's probably a little more drunk than I realized. I go downstairs. I'm like, what the hell happened? I see glass on the ground. I look outside. There's just blood trails. And I was like, oh my God. I go to outside the pool. I shut the French doors because I didn't react well
Well, you also,
to this.
Yeah.
I looked at the scene. I was like, that couch is done. Just blood all over it because she laid on it. And I go upstairs, and I just remember there's so much blood coming out of her forehead. You know, she's drinking, so it flows more. And I just remember seeing, like, pink water coming down on the ground. Like, light pink water, you know?
Yeah.
And her friend's like, get out, get out. And I was like, okay. So I went and tried to clean up a little bit, knowing they're coming at some point in the morning. And I go up. She has put some Band-Aids that I had put out on her forehead, and she's laying in their bed.
The people whose house you're sitting
Yes. Very nice bed.
in. Yeah.
And I was like, she's just out. And I go, checked her, asked her some questions. But I was like, should I move her to my bed because she's got these bandages on? And I was like, no, she'll be okay. Checked her. I made her drink some water,
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't saying much, but she was answering the questions. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. So we go back downstairs.
You and the other girl.
And the other girl, the blonde. And she's like, what? Why are you cleaning up so much? And I was like, I didn't want to tell her. This is not my house.
Yeah.
And they're coming anymore. I was like, I'm a bit like OCD, so I have to do this. She's like, okay. And immediately we just start going at it. She had no concern for her friend either, by the way.
Yeah. Well, guess what? I mean, at some point when you're in your 20s and something happens and someone's like, I'm fine, you're like, oh, okay. We don't know the ramifications like we do when we're adults and we
Sure.
have kids, so you just go.
I should add, I considered taking her to a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not like, heartless. I really did. I assessed the situation. I'm like, she'll be okay. So we do our thing. We end up in my room with the bed and the rollers, and it was awesome. I remember taking her wine and putting it on the bookshelf.
Mm-hmm.
And at a certain point, the bed knocked into that, and the wine fell too.
Yeah, on the bed.
No, on the pillows that were on the ground.
Okay.
So there's one little deal. I was like, oh, man, that's another thing.
Okay,
Like,
so all this is happening in a house that you're pretty much looking after.
yes.
Yes. Okay.
So I know the next morning, I wake up. It must have been like 5:30 in the morning. It was like lights coming in. I go, I got to find out what happened. So I go outside and I look up these like 30 steps with no railing, very wide steps, and I immediately see like there's blood on them, coagulated.
Yeah.
There's blood. There was ivy coming down the sides, left and right. There's blood everywhere, dude. Blood on the floor, blood on the streets of Chicago.
I mean, dude, the bottom line is you can't. When there's blood, there's gonna be blood.
It's gonna be blood on brick. No bueno.
No.
So I just remember getting like sponges and spray whatever I had, and I'm there in my boxer shorts, and I look up at my bedroom. There was that little balcony, and the bed had moved over there, and I just see this blonde-haired girl just lying there, and I was like, "That's awesome." But then I'm like, I'm dead. So
And you're just frantically cleaning.
frantically cleaning, trying to get them out, not knowing they're going to come over in a couple hours.
Oh yeah.
And I have to explain what happened, and I'm trying to figure out what happened. And the best I could figure out is she had stumbled down the stairs with no railing and walked in and either fallen, like stumbled over, and then in her state walked into the door with her head and broke like a couple panels of the glass.
Yeah.
So I get them out of there. I clean up the best I can. I flip the cushions.
Now, do you remember when you told me this story?
Apparently, I told you because the next day I promised to drive you to the airport
You
because I'm a
picked me
man
up
of
from the
my
airport.
word.
Yeah. You came and picked me up from the airport, and you're like, so listen, this is what's going on. And you start telling me this story. And I was like, what? Like this whole story.
Slow down, man.
Yeah, it was crazy. You were telling me this whole story. And what you told me was the next morning you're up and you're cleaning frantically because you're finding more blood and more blood and
There was
more
blood. Why I mentioned the stereo is because what I remember, one of the first things I cleaned was my fingerprint in blood on the power button.
Yeah. and
I
you were
remember
like,
that as clear as day. I was like, oh
That's
my
where you're
God,
going to
that's a lot
jail.
of blood, right?
Yeah. And a
Yeah,
fingerprint right there. That's
yeah.
where you go to jail.
But-
we got your fingerprint off of here.
You did?
But what you said to me was, you're cleaning up, and then she comes downstairs, and she's like, what are you doing? Why are you cleaning? And you're like, this isn't my house! This isn't my house! And she's like, what? And you're like, you guys gotta go. You gotta
go. And I gave her my number. I was like, you call me out, which is a mistake. I think I got their information.
Why is it? First of all, yeah, she's never.
Because I'm not
you.
a good criminal.
Oh yeah, now she got your number. Oh yeah, good point. But either way, nothing ever happened. They didn't sue you or
No, but that was the fear. So to get through this, I ended up calling the brother of the wife, our mutual friend,
of whose
and I
house
was
you
like,
were living
yeah,
in.
and I go, dude, I got to tell you something. What happened? And he goes, dude, he's laughing. He's like, don't tell my sister. She'll freak out. Don't cover it up. Do not tell them whatever you do. Just
make
it work.
And you're like, dude, that's all I do.
So I said when he came over, he's like, what happened here? He's a super nice guy. And I was like, oh, my buddy Mike was here, and he was opening the door, and his kind of elbow went into it, whatever he said. He's like, is he all right? I go, he's fine. I go, I'm going to fix the glass, all this. It was actually her, excuse me. It was her who came over. But what I had done was the sheets, Bella Notte sheets, her bandages had come off, blood all over the bed.
Yeah.
So I took the sheets off, and I go, this is going to look weird. I took my sheets off. And she goes, what are the sheets? I go, oh, you know what? I was taking mine to the dry cleaners. I figured I'd take yours. They were in the back of my car.
Like, yeah, I dry clean my sheets.
I do.
That's how I'm rolling. I can
don't-
only afford $600 a month, but I dry clean my sheets.
Yes, classy. So I was taking care of this stuff. I called someone to fix the bubble glass.
And they bought it. They were like, okay, he just broke the glass, no big deal.
Yes, but as I'm cleaning this house, I'm realizing this is an old house. There's like red specks places. They had the walls in front of the house that had like they would put broken glass in to stop people from coming. There were people working up there. I would see like, where did that? She couldn't possibly reach there. I can't. Why is there blood there? I'm cleaning everything. I got goop, which is how you get like stuff off a brick. I'm scrubbing with brushes. I'm going around. This is really not big on the internet. I'm going around calling people Bella Notte sheets. They're made in San Francisco. All this olive green, they're like $250 sheets. I have to get them. I took them to the one cleaner.
Well, hold on a second. At what point did they discover even more blood?
When the jig was up.
Well, so then they called you and they said, hey, man.
Here's what happened. I left the World Cafe, and I had 2 messages, like midnight. One was from our friend, the brother, who said, dude, they found blood in the house.
You're like, no shit, there's blood everywhere.
They think you're lying because you don't want to scare them. And they think your arm went through it. So
you're like, yeah, dummy, you're the one who told me to lie.
He goes, whatever arm you said, and he's laughing. He goes, you better cut it, baby. He's like, you better cut your arm to perpetuate this lie. The next one was from the owner's husband, who was like, hey man, we were at the house. We found like blood on the doorway. What happened there, you bleeder? Call us. So we went.
Basically, he's saying like,
we were concerned.
There's blood everywhere.
These are nice people. They were like, dude, what's going on? They knew it was a dangerous house. Other things had happened to them. They were like, it was just pure concern. So I went to my buddy Swanee's house and Josh, and I brought a 6-pack. And I was like, guys, they were like, what's up? And I go, I think you might have to cut my elbow a little bit. And they were like, Mike was like, yeah, all right, you idiot. Let's perpetuate this lie. He's like, let's go to this house right now. He'd been there. He's like, let's go see it. He's like, dude, this is an old house. He's like my consigliere, I realize in life. He's like, dude, it's an old house.
Such a calm dude anyway.
People bleed. You made it seem like it was OJ. I'm like, dude, at a certain point, it was blood everywhere, dude. I did a great job cleaning. He's like, dude, this is nothing. He's like, don't worry about it. Do not tell them. So we went to the farmer's market on Melrose. Love walking the farmer's market on Melrose. Is that still there?
Got some Gerber daisies, right?
No, yeah, but not the one in Santa Monica, which is its own world.
Yes.
We're there with a bunch of people, and they call. And my buddy Josh was with me. He's like, tell the truth. Set yourself free. And I was like, yeah. So he's there, talking to the husband. He's relaying to her. He's like, so dude, what happened? And I go, all right, I'm going to tell you. I met these 2 girls that came back. They're birds. Something happened. He goes, he's telling her like it's a joke. Like, oh, this is a Coonsy story.
Yeah.
And he's like, seriously, what happened? I go, that's what happened. And he's like, and she starts crying. Okay, he's like, I have to call you back. She calls me back a little while later. I remember everyone had left, and I'm just feeling so despondent because I had this great thing. And I'm walking around, and I'm like, they're gonna kick me out. She's like, I'm so sorry. You have to. It's in a trust. Like it's. We can get sued. We just can't risk it. The house is too dangerous. She was so sweet because she was like, it's not you. It's not you. It's me.
The house.
So I ended up. I mean, with the Bella
ultimately
Notte
you
sheets. Yeah. Make it worse. Just to end this long story, I went to go settle up with some bills I had, cable, internet, and they could walk. People would park at their house. They would go there to walk to the Greek Theater or the Fort, whatever one. And I didn't want to. I saw their cars there. I was just going to leave it in the mailbox. But I'm sitting like 5 houses down, and I'm writing them this letter of how sorry I am. In my car with the light on. It's pitch black, and there's no street lights. And they are walking by, and they knock. Like, what are you doing here? I'm like, hey, this is for you. And they're like, why didn't you come to the house? And I was like, because I didn't want to bother you. I just looked so guilty.
Yeah, of course.
Then one time I went to the house, and the husband was there, and he had his friend there who's an actor we both love. And he was like, hey. And I was like, hey. And he's like, are you OJ? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, dude, where are the bodies? What happened here? And as he's walking around, I'm taking him through what happened. In one of the potted plants is one of those like chicken cutlet like stuffings of a bra, they're rubber. And he pulls one out of the potted plant. And I remember he's across the pool, and I'm near the French doors, and he goes, what happened in my house, dude? And I go, I told you. Like, I'm telling you. They're very sweet, and yeah.
And then
I replaced everything.
So, but how long did you end up living there total?
I think I was there for 4 months.
Really?
You think it was longer?
I thought it was less.
Yeah,
But still,
3 or 4 months.
That's a good run.
It was an awesome house. It was a great night. Could have been even better.
I mean, how long after did they sell that house?
I don't know. They gave me a percentage. No, I have no
I'm
idea.
saying, like, if they didn't sell it for another 10 months, you could have probably lived there for a year and a half.
Oh, honestly, I think I could have lived there for, I could have lived there for at least maybe 6 months to a year. It was a great setup, dude.
It's a great house. It's a great house.
One of many blown opportunities, Jay Lawson.
I remember, I want to tell this quick story about me and you. So we're working a bar mitzvah at this restaurant that we worked at. And when we would do these private parties at this place, at the time, our restaurant was like the hottest restaurant in Santa Monica.
Dude, I loved every moment of it.
Me too. We thought we were superstars. You know what I mean? If you go to a restaurant that's popular and like the waiters are cool, but they know you're there because the place is hot, that's who we all were.
Oh, hold on. Take it easy.
You don't think so?
No, it wasn't like Koi at the time. It was a beach restaurant where everyone was super cool. You can get away with a lot of stuff.
Right.
It was good money. It was packed.
Non-stop. That's what I mean. People were showing up there. Everyone was having a good time. Our manager would let us drink.
Everyone was hanging out and smooching on the side. It was awesome.
Yes. During private parties, we would drink a lot.
Yes, we would.
So
when I had tolerance, oh, dude, did I have tolerance?
I remember.
Fernet Branca.
He goes, meet me in the busser station. We're going to have Cosmos. And I go, okay. So we would get 2 Cosmos on the rocks, and then we'd pound them. Remember? We would pound them.
Yes. Do you remember doing whippets back there, too?
I sure do. You're the one who got me into it. And you're like, take this
I influenced you.
You go, take this whippet and walk to the front door and see how you feel.
Yeah. Can I jump to a great Jay Larson story?
Of course.
So we're jumping from California to New York City.
Okay.
And you lived on the Upper East West Side, and then you moved to Park Slope and right down the street from me, and I was so psyched.
So that's why we moved there, because of you.
Loved it. You were living on this restaurant. You managed to, wherever you go, not only land like jobs, you landed jobs at like these amazing bars and stuff, but even your apartment. I was like, dude, this is amazing.
This is the coolest apartment ever. Yeah.
Had this great apartment, a big window that opened up to this rooftop.
Yeah, we had a fireplace.
This is the time you're making like fountains and stuff, and you had this grand vision, which you did, to make like a pitching area with fountains and streams. It was dope. And we had a pickup truck, 1999 Ford Ranger, pick up those antiques, baby.
Yep.
And you said to me, like, dude, because I need the truck, right?
Well, you needed, in order to make that thing, you couldn't just go on. It was tar, the roof, so you had to put wood pallets down.
Yeah, a lot.
And so you have to I had to go on Craigslist and see who was I wasn't going to build
Craigslist,
them. Not the wood pallets you see in shipping. Like, these were made to be a deck.
Yes, and you found them.
I found a condo association not far from us that was selling their roof pallets because they had a roof deck and they were getting new ones. And I made a deal with them. They were going to give me 20, and I can't remember what I was paying per pallet, but I was getting 20 of them, and you were going to help me.
Was the elevator out? But whatever it was, we had to take the steps.
We had to take the steps, and they were very heavy.
But there were many steps, and they were super heavy. It had rained, so they were even heavier.
Yes, they're probably 100 pounds each, easy, and awkward and big. They're probably 4x4 or 3x3. 4x4.
They were awkward, and we were helping each other. Then we're trying to take them out because we knew it was taking a lot of time. We filled up. I left, I believe, to go drop them off.
What happened was we got the first 10 in.
Yes.
We had another 10 to go.
That's how big they were in the back of a pickup.
And I said to Kunze, take these, unload them on the sidewalk, have the girls come down and sit like they can just. We had a great sidewalk. We had a sidewalk sale there once. You could sit out there. They could hang out, have a drink if they want, and just watch the pallets. And while you're gone,
watch the pallets.
I could probably get 5 down on my own before he got back.
But here's the beauty.
And then we would do the rest.
I come back. It took a while to unload them and whatever. I come back. You are rolling them down the stairs on a Sunday morning, by the way, or Saturday morning. And you're like people, I remember open the door and you're so pissed.
Well, yeah, because...
And you were like, what? What?
People were
what? Why don't you help? I think you were like, "Wow!" I loved angry, frustrated Jay Larson. You're like, "Why don't you saying to people like, you go back in your place, okay? Because this is happening. We got 10 more." So, and I was like, "Dude, you got to just calm down here, right?" So we fill up the car a second time.
Yes, but I didn't get the whole 20.
No?
I was supposed to get 20, and then I said to the woman who's in charge of the condo association, I go, first of all, these are not in the shape that I thought they would be. They were not in great shape. They were waterlogged. No one was helping me. There was no elevator.
No one was helping you.
Well, I mean, I'm getting them out of her place. They're waterlogged.
So you're kind of doing them a favor.
Well, they had to get rid of them. You can't just. It's not like L.A. where people just dump stuff in an alley.
They used to. Before Craigslist
cars.
in New York City, people would drop like mid-century furniture on the side. You're like,
well, that's what you're gonna do. What are you gonna do with all those pallets? I was just taking some of their pallets. They had the whole roof.
Yes.
And,
you were frustrated.
I was very frustrated.
I was loving every minute of it.
Yeah.
But I was helping you out.
Well, when you were gone, the woman was like, these people. I go, you know what? Here's the deal.
It's my favorite.
I'm taking 17. That's what I'm taking. So those other 3,
we're taking the Amwad.
I want my money back. I said I want money back for those 3, and I go, this one was damaged, and the woman was like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, yeah, this is a lot of work here.
See, even you're pissed now.
It was so annoying.
So we get them back to your house. Then we have to take them up. I think you're on the first.
Can I just explain something to you?
Please.
I just don't like when people don't get it. If you don't get it, you don't see things rationally. If you say, yeah, wood pallets for sale at this price, great condition. You don't mention the waterlog. You don't mention no elevator. You don't mention any of these things. And then people show up, and then you have to adapt to what these people hid from you so that they could sell the thing. The way I look at it, get it. How about you figure it out? And then if you look at it and be like, you know what, you're right. They're waterlogged. There's all these steps. I'll take some money off the price. Do that.
Do you think that warrants you rolling them down the steps on the side?
It's the only way you get them down.
I'm on your side on this. So we go back to your place, and we have to bring them up. The job's not over.
No.
Because we got to bring them up. I think you were one flight up.
One flight up, and then through the apartment.
Through the thing.
I do remember they were so heavy, and we were so exhausted.
Yeah.
That we took a break with one of them at the door to the roof deck. We stopped there, and that's where we took a break.
Had a cigarette. So we get them out there, and I don't even think we arranged them.
No, we were just putting them out.
Just put them out.
What we did do was we put 6 together to make the patio.
To see.
Because what it was going to be is this was going to be the patio, and then I was going to do a trail this way and a trail that way, garden in the middle, putting green over here, pitching area.
Huge brick wall to show movies on.
Yeah.
And the guy upstairs who had a little deck or porch, whatever, emergency. I just remember when we would go there and look at movies. Because we watched it a couple times and you were gone.
Yeah.
And we would watch it, and I'm like, this guy must hate you because this is such an amazing setup, and he just has to look at it. He doesn't get to participate.
So we get to when we're taking the pallets out, we're sitting in the doorway, and I go, hey, man, I really appreciate you helping me today. The money that I saved because I didn't pay for the pallets and she knocked some money off because it was a horrible situation, I want you to have it. Remember? Standing in that doorway.
I just recall getting lunch first. We went and got lunch.
No, this happened before lunch. And you go, Are you fucking kidding me? Don't you insult me like that. I'm a friend doing you a favor, and you gave me the money back, and you marched out with that wood pallet. And I was like, oh, geez. So I held on to the money. We got the rest of the wood pallets. We set up a 6-pallet patio, put a table and chair
out there.
Then you and Kate. Yeah, you and Kate went and got lunch, and it was just Kristen and me waiting for you guys. And I took the money, and I gave it to Kristen. I said, hey, listen, I tried to give this money to Marcus. He wouldn't take it. It's my way of saying thank you. This was a big ask. I didn't think it was going to be that big. I wanted him to have some money.
Neither did I.
I go, he doesn't want to take the money, so do me a favor and just go out to dinner some night and don't tell him and just use this money for the dinner.
And was she like...
She said, okay.
Okay.
And then we all ate lunch.
Had
a great
sandwiches. It was lovely. And then we're walking back, and she goes, listen, just want to let you know, Jay was very insistent that he wanted to give you some money, like, for the work. And I go, what? I overreact to things. This is the whole point of this. I came back.
I could just picture
knocked
you
on the door.
Kunzi leaned out like this. No, you buzzed in. I go, what's up? And this is the way it worked. When you open the door to my apartment, you'd look right this way, and that was down the stairs. So I buzz him in. I open the door. I go, what's up? What'd you forget? And he comes storming up the stairs. Dude, he's like, you fucking insult me. I told you not to give that money. You try to give it to my girlfriend. That's what you try and do. And you come up, you threw the money in the apartment, and then you storm back down the stairs. And then do you remember what I said?
I think you must have said, understandably, go fuck yourself.
I go, fuck you, you piece of shit.
Yeah.
You can't, like, thinking it's
messing
hilarious.
with me?
Yes, being like, no, not messing with you, being like, shut the fuck up, you little bitch. I'm just like, and Kate's like, Jay, what are you doing? I'm like, this kid won't take the money.
Yeah. The point of that story is, one, I just thought it was so, I look back and I'm like, I overreacted so much because I value your friendship. And with my friends, it's not about the money. It's about helping them out, right?
For sure.
But there was no reason to get so angry. Like, I ruined any
moment
There's no
of it.
Reason. What is that from?
That's from the Big Lebowski.
Big Lebowski. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Do you recall I gave you this awesome thing from the Big Lebowski? It was like a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah.
Dude, that's like a collector's item, dude.
Yeah, I know. I sold it at a yard sale. Got $38 for it.
Well, that's impressive. How are we doing on time, Jay?
We're great on time. So what we were talking about was being at that bar mitzvah.
Oh, sorry.
So I'm walking around. So at the bar mitzvah, so we do the 2 Cosmos. We chug them. We pound them in the busser station. And as soon as we do, I look at them. I go, I got 2 margaritas waiting for us already over at the salad station. So we go over there and we're sipping on Margie's. Then
I'm sorry. Did you just say Margie's?
Margie's.
No one, not in your life have you ever called them Margie's.
Margaritas?
Yes.
100%. You want to grab
Margie's?
Yeah.
Go on with your story. All right.
First of all, we all love Margie's.
I like to too.
So we go back, and you'd have to pass that little station to drop the dishes and stuff. And there was only 3 of us working. It was me, you, and Vanessa, and then our manager Mark. And we'd walk around with hors d'oeuvres and stuff like that. So while I'm walking around with hors d'oeuvres, I go to this younger girl. I would say she's probably 17.
Yeah.
And she's with her parents and her younger brother. And I go, tiger shrimp, and it was shrimp wrapped in pancetta. Okay, which is very nice.
Kurt.
Which was lovely. And I go, and then the mother goes, oh, yeah, honey, have one. And she goes, Mom, I told you I'm a vegetarian. But she wasn't that dramatic, but that's probably how her mom heard it. And I'm looking at this situation, and what I assess is I'm like, oh, this girl wants to be understood by her mom, and she doesn't, and I'm looking at it like I'm a little older than her, probably by I was probably 25. So 8 years, and I'm like, this chick
Your Honor, it was only 8 years.
No, I was looking at him like, oh, this girl wants to be understood. I get it.
Your parents don't understand your vegan lifestyle, dude. Fuck them.
Well, you guys, everyone harps on me. But honestly, the girl was smart. And so, anyway, I saw her a couple other times, and she, I don't know what happened, but we started talking about,
this guy has my back.
Yeah. Well,
he understands me.
I said something. I'm like, listen, about your parents, just don't worry about it. They don't understand. Totally.
Don't worry about it.
Now, in the meantime, we had probably done a couple extra shots and a couple Cosmos.
Yeah.
And we would sip that margarita. But I remember walking past to go, because the margie I just left there to sip, and I went, and yours was done. and mine was not done.
I got hammered.
You got banged up.
Didn't I play the piano for a little bit as well?
Oh yeah, you were
Little
playing
Miss
Counting
Seeley's
Crows.
Blues. No, Miss Seeley's Blues. That's my go-to.
By the way, you weren't just playing it in a corner. You were playing it for the entire bat mitzvah. All the kids were dancing, and you were at there in your black. We used to wear black shirts,
yeah.
black pants, and a white apron, and you were playing piano while I'm out there talking to this girl
Like a
about
boss. Yes.
So finally, Vanessa comes over to me. She's like, "Hey, can I talk to you for a second?" I'm like, "Yeah, just give me a sec."
Hold on. Isn't this story great if you just stop right here?
Yeah.
Isn't it enough?
Why? You don't want to hear the rest?
I know where it's going.
Of course you know where it's going. So she comes over and she's like, "Can I talk to you for a second?" I'm like, "Yeah, one sec." And I'm like, I think I was like talking about like Dostoevsky with this girl.
Like you do.
Like you do. And we're like, who knows what we're talking about. Then she comes back. She's like, "Jay, I really need to talk to you." I'm like, "All right, can you excuse me?" And I go, "What's up?" And she goes, "First of all, that girl's dad wants to know why you're talking to his teenage daughter when he clearly thinks you're drunk." And I go, "What? I'm not drunk." And she goes, "Second of all, Coonsy's passed out in the alley right now." In the alley. And I go, "Shut up." I didn't care about anything about that guy. I go right out to the alley. And do you remember where you were?
I know there was a dumpster and then like a chair or
You
something.
were on the ground next to the dumpster like a chalk outline. Laid out like a chalk outline. Eyes closed. And I remember I leaned over you. And
Didn't
I go,
cars come through there?
Yeah,
No.
very, very randomly. And I leaned over you and I go, "What the fuck are you doing?" And you go, "What can I do to help?" And I was like, "Nothing. You can do nothing.
No, I
You
gotta
can
help."
sit in that chair and stay there." And this was like towards the end of the bar mitzvah. So like Vanessa and I and Mark all cleaned that place up. You left your car there. You didn't drive it home.
I woke up on my couch with just socks on. That's what I do remember. Before, I think I had to make a phone call to Mark Becker.
Do you remember what time this thing ended?
It's probably like, the restaurant generally closed around midnight.
Yeah, but this was a day event. This thing ended at like 6.
No.
I don't ever remember.
But it
being
was dark
nighttime.
out.
It was getting dark. Maybe it was wintertime.
It's not dark yet.
So alls I remember is, so I hadn't been working there that long. The next morning, you call me, and you're like,
I probably called you first.
"Yeah," and I go, "Hello," and you go, "Do we still have our jobs?"
Yeah.
And I go, "What? Why? Why wouldn't we?" And you're like, "Jay, do you even know what we did last time?" I'm like, "Yeah, but isn't that how everyone rolls there?" Like, it's like I hadn't been
Apparently.
working there long enough, and I ended up calling our manager, Mark, after you had called him and apologized.
And he said the only thing that kept your job was that the owner, David,
Yeah.
didn't come by and he was supposed to.
Well, all's Mark said to me, he's like, "Yeah, you know," and he was such a nice guy. He goes, "We got a little out of control," because he was drinking too.
He was a great
He's
guy.
like, we should probably tone it down.
Great
a little.
guy, yeah.
The best. He was the best guy.
He's a runner. Yeah, dude, there were many incidents there. Yeah.
But I feel like when we were in our 20s, we both have a flair for like I don't want to go completely into it, but like when you were in high school, you would make prank phone calls and you'd record them and then make mixtapes and then
sell them. At the time before, yeah, people were dumb enough to buy them and we would pre-sell them. They didn't think like, "Oh, we'll take this and copy it." We'd pre-sell them. Like, if you buy it now, you can get it for $5, but after it comes out,
Yeah.
they're $10.
How many do you think you sold?
Probably like 50.
Really?
My mom heard them later. It went around. But like, my mom was a nurse at a school nurse at a neighboring school, and I was in college, and she called me and she's like, very calm. She's like, "Mark, could you give me a call when you have a moment? I need to speak to you." And I said to my roommate, I was like, "Something's up." And she's like, "So a young lady came in, one of the students. She saw a picture of you on my desk, and she said, 'Oh my God, I know him. Used to work at a restaurant with him. He made me a mix. Are you the woman on the mix?' Because she caught me doing the mixtape.
Oh my God.
Was her. She's very high, loud voice. She caught me making a prank call. And she was like, 'Are you on the phone with Timmy?' My friend who was doing it with me. And she goes off. 'You're going to go to jail. They're going to call the FCC.' And I put that as the intro to the tape. It was so great. And then I put it on mixtapes. And she got it. And she's like, and I go, "No, Ma, she doesn't know what she's talking
What were
about."
you, BASFs? What were you doing? Did you have a cover on the mixtapes?
My friend Tim drew a cover. I forget what it was. Prank calls and listed. And an index.
God. And that was before or after Jerky Boys?
during around the same time. I mean, here we had to record them on the answering machine while you were talking.
Yeah.
One of them, Ross Perot, was running 92.
Of course.
And we called up this kid in our class whose dad was a lawyer who was one of those guys that, like, he backed up into a bus and sued the bus company. So you're like, you're hateful. Your son's, like, hateful. And we pranked him. And it was like a 4-way call. And it was like, could you push this button, taking a survey, asking about the vice presidential debate. He pushed the button, any button, and the recording was, thank you for donating $50 to the Ross Perot Campaign Fund. And he was like, no. And then a supervisor came on because we were all in different places just going with it. It made the newspapers.
That's amazing.
Because he reported it.
Yeah.
And I just remember going like, this is awesome.
And that's why your mom said you were going to go to jail.
Yeah, because I told her, and then we kept doing it. This is how I spent my years.
know,
Instead of learning how to write.
But I was doing similar stuff, like, writing articles against our high school football team, and then getting like a article in the newspaper of the school newspaper trashing our football team, and signing in anonymous.
Why? Because you felt more money should be devoted to the baseball and soccer team?
No, because I thought they were fucking assholes and didn't care about the student population at all, and they were just arrogant losers. They were 5-0 at the time. When the article came out, they were 5-4. They were no longer ranked. They were ranked number 1 in the state, 5-0, when I wrote the article. It came out on the day before Thanksgiving Day. They were 5-4, no longer ranked. Played Thanksgiving, lost, ended up 5-5 in the season. They walked into the, like you always have a pep rally before Thanksgiving.
in the gymnasium.
Yeah, they would always had a dummy of a player from the other team hanging.
They burn it?
No, they would just have it there, and they had the article stuck to it. And they came out and they go, if you guys really feel the way about us that article says, don't come to the game tomorrow. And then they walked out, and then they lost the next
Why do
day.
you hate them so much?
Because
they stand in line. No one's going to hurt you. Why did you hate them? You were like this athletic guy who roamed within all different circles. Well, what did you have against them?
Because they didn't care. I was in the marching band, and they didn't give 2 shits about us.
Oh, that's what it is. You
And
weren't getting the respect.
No respect.
But didn't you have like 18 people in your marching band?
Yeah, I think I'd say our high point was 27, but yeah, we probably
They were
around
dissing
22.
you. With your
no one says diss.
What do you
anymore.
call it?
Plume and a cover.
I forget you are a musician, Jay.
I'm not. I played an instrument, but I'm not a musician. All right, so we have a couple of. We want to read a poem, and we also want to tell the amazing China story.
No, wait. That'll take way too long, and I don't even know the details.
Let's do a poem.
Okay.
So the name of Coonsy's podcast,
Trapper Keeper
Trapper
Confessions.
Keeper Confessions.
Not just Trapper Keeper Confessions.
Do you want me to read the poem, or do you read it?
No, I would love you to read it.
Okay. Are you sure? Because I don't want to mess up your
No.
your tone or your.
First of all,
pacing.
you read
Is
a
it
poem.
iambic pentameter?
Nah.
Because I'm gonna have you read one of mine. After.
You recall? You have read poetry from me before. You read a poem at my wedding. Did we go way back, bro? You read a Pablo Neruda poem. Poor
At the
fellows.
actual ceremony?
Yeah.
God, I don't remember. Do you remember me doing the speech at your rehearsal dinner?
I wish I had that on tape. Someone does.
No one does.
No,
one
my
recorded
uncle,
it.
my cousin George, I thought did, and I would love to get that.
Can I just say?
My father asked you to say,
Your
"Oh,
mother
Jay,
did.
my mom. Oh, we'd love it at the rehearsal. Could Jay do it? Would you mind asking?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay." I felt awkward going like, "Could you come to my wedding and perform?" But you did.
I loved it. First of all,
You crushed.
I absolutely crushed.
It's a lovely dinner.
Do you remember? Hold on a second. Do you remember the old guy? I'm in the middle of
That was
this
the best.
speech.
That's what set it in
I'm
motion.
doing a speech, and while I'm doing it, your mom and your dad, but mainly your mom, keeps saying, like, telling me, like, say the time, and I was like, settle down, this chick, and I kept shredding your mom,
Yeah.
and everyone was loving it.
Who had been to the abandoned house, by the way?
Yes, they both had. And then while I'm still going, and I wasn't going that long, an older gentleman, I don't know whose side of the family.
Dr. Sisler, I know exactly who it was.
He walked right past me to the dessert table like he didn't even know what was going on. And the whole walk, I shredded that guy.
Yeah, we liked it. It was so you. Like, dude, are you kidding me?
I'm like,
What,
is this guy
really?
for real right
Really?
now? Yeah. And
Yeah.
then I just kept going on him while he had his back to us, filling up his plate. Then I went back into it. Then he walked past again, and we went into it. Anyway, it was fantastic.
So, yes, you read a poem at my wedding. We asked you to read it. Okay. It was a lovely poem. I normally would bring my original cursive, but it's really difficult to read for some people if you don't know it. So
Yes.
I will give you an option.
Okay. Can I tell you that I won a poetry contest in 3rd grade? I came in 3rd place, maybe 5th grade, 3rd place
Out of how many people?
at a library competition.
I love those now. When my kids go to them, and it's like you can watercolor or a story. My daughter did a story, and the parents are allowed to like transcribe it,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a great story, imaginative, but it was too good. But yeah, because they're like, there's no way this kid in 1st grade came up with this,
Yeah.
and she didn't win. And I was like, what?
Had she come up with it?
Yeah,
Wow.
she's a good storyteller.
Yeah.
But you came in 3rd place.
3rd place. I mean, you had to write the poem. It was like written out on paper.
Do you recall what it was?
It was called about my baseball bat. It was about baseball. I don't have it, but you know, my grandmother
Baseball,
wrote
Jay.
poetry all the time for like our birthdays and stuff like that.
I wrote poetry that except for once, I gave it to myself. It was for me. I never expected it to really like
Clearly, let's get
share.
into one.
So you could have this. You could have January 25th, 1993, December
you were junior in high
29th,
school.
1992. Yes.
Sophomore in high school.
Or no date. Some of them didn't have dates.
Just give them all to me.
Okay.
Okay.
This is fresh. Could you say the date though? There's no titles to these. I didn't.
December 29th, 1992. Can I break down the date a little?
Please.
December 29th. The year is ending. It's cold. It's New Jersey. You're sitting alone in your house. You're not Catholic.
But it's
You're
not
Jewish.
Here's the funny thing about it, and we'll get into like this idea of like if you had a finished basement. This was not in New Jersey, as you'll see. I know the backstory of this.
Where is it?
I was skiing out west with my family.
Oh, amazing.
You're gonna like this.
But still, the year, the beauty for me in December is the year's ending. I'm saying goodbye. It's been a long December, and there's reasons to believe.
Like, I don't listen to
maybe
that.
Next year
Don't I
will
send you a
be
text
better
every?
than the
I think I
last.
send you and Jay a text every year. It's like,
Of course.
okay, yeah.
Either way, December 29th is the year is ending. You have the whole next year. It's like that's why people love New
Reflection.
Year's. 'Cause you're you can change.
Snowy,
Snow.
cold,
All right,
outdoor
should
fires.
should I just read it through and then we'll break it down?
Please.
Okay. When you're walking aimlessly at the day's long end, and you have no life and no money to spend, and that cold wind pierces quickly in this ritzy tourist town, and you choose to be a loner while there's people all around, and you formulate the exact words to say, but you can't bring yourself to speak because fear restrains you and comes between you and your goal, and you walk in circles thinking, what if? And end up once again feeling regret. Don't worry, buddy, for there are millions like yourself. They're all around, just like you, watching, looking, seeking, but never speaking. Still, somehow, inevitably, you will find your voice, sometime far off into the not-too-distant future. So fear not. Young Knox!
I knew you'd love that one. Right?
Oh,
Love it.
no. What? That was the first half of Me and the K-Man. There's a clean break in there. Not really. Just know, second half on Monday. Watch it, listen to it. It'll be ready for you, and enjoy the hell out of it. And don't forget to watch my special on YouTube. It's there for you. Go watch it.